You sit down to start, you know exactly what needs to be done, but something in you doesn't move. So you scroll, you wait, you tell yourself you'll start in a minute, and then later you call yourself lazy. But if you were truly lazy, why does it feel so heavy? Why does doing nothing feel worse than doing something? So maybe it's not laziness. Maybe it's something you're avoiding without even realizing it.
It doesn't look like fear from the outside. It looks like distraction, like low energy, like I'm just not in the mood today. But inside, it's different. You open your laptop and suddenly feel tired. You think about starting, and your mind drifts somewhere else. You plan everything perfectly, but never begin. And the strange part is, you care. That's what makes it confusing. Because if you didn't care, you wouldn't feel this constant tension, this quiet pressure in your chest. Over time, it starts to shape how you see yourself. I'm just not disciplined. I always do this. Maybe I'm just lazy. And that identity becomes heavier than the task itself. In psychology, this is called self-labeling bias. Your brain prefers a simple explanation over a complex truth. Lazy is simple, but it's also wrong, because what you're experiencing is not a lack of effort, it's an avoidance of something deeper. And until you see what that is, you'll keep repeating the same loop.
You're not broken. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Avoid pain, seek safety. That's it. Every behavior you repeat, even the ones you hate, exists because at some level it protects you. Avoidance isn't failure, it's protection. But here's the part most people don't realize. The brain doesn't just avoid physical danger, it avoids emotional threat with the same intensity. Rejection, embarrassment, failure. To your brain, these feel like risks to survival. So when you don't start, you're not being lazy, you're staying safe. The question is, safe from what?
To understand this, you need to see how your brain makes decisions, not logically, but emotionally. There's a system in your brain called the limbic system. It acts like an alarm. Its job is simple: scan for threats and keep you away from them. Now, here's the problem. It can't tell the difference between a real danger and a psychological one. So when you think about starting something, your brain doesn't just see the task, it simulates the outcome. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if people judge me? This is called predictive processing. Your brain is constantly trying to predict the future based on past experiences. And if those predictions feel negative, it activates avoidance. Here's a simple mental model. Your brain is like a smoke detector. It's designed to go off at the slightest hint of danger. But sometimes it goes off when you're just making toast. The alarm feels real, even when the threat isn't. So instead of starting, you delay. You distract yourself. Not because you don't want to act, but because your brain is trying to protect you from a predicted emotional outcome. And most of the time, that outcome is tied to one thing: fear.
So how do you move forward without forcing yourself or pretending the fear isn't there? You don't fight the brain. You work with it. Step 1. Name the fear precisely. Instead of asking, "Why am I lazy?" ask, "What exactly am I afraid will happen if I start?" This shifts activity from the emotional brain to the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for reasoning. In psychology, this is called affect labeling. When you put feelings into words, their intensity decreases. Example: you're avoiding sending an email. Instead of saying, "I don't feel like it," you realize, "I'm afraid they'll think I'm not good enough." That clarity changes everything. Step 2. Shrink the threat. Your brain reacts to the size of perceived risk. So instead of starting the whole task, reduce it. Make it so small it doesn't trigger the alarm. This works because of exposure theory.
Gradual exposure reduces fear over time. Example: instead of finish the project, you open the file. That's it. Once you're in, the resistance drops. Step 3. Separate action from identity. Right now, every task feels personal. If you fail, it feels like you failed. This is called ego involvement. To reduce fear, you need to detach your identity from the outcome. Example: instead of "this defines me," you treat it like an experiment. I'm just testing what happens. Your brain becomes more willing to act when failure doesn't threaten identity. Step 4. Make the fear familiar. Avoidance keeps fear alive. Exposure weakens it. This is basic behavioral psychology. The more you face something, even in small ways, the less power it has. Example: if you're afraid of posting content, you don't wait to feel confident. You post imperfectly, again and again. Over time, your brain updates its prediction. This isn't dangerous. Catch the moment before escape. There's always a moment, right before you reach for your phone, right before you delay. That tiny pause. That's where the choice happens. This is called the choice point in behavioral psychology. If you can notice it, you can change it. Example: you feel the urge to avoid. Instead of reacting, you pause for 3 seconds and choose one small action. That's how patterns break. 6th, integration. So, it's not laziness, it's a loop, a quiet one. Thought, prediction, fear, avoidance, relief, and then again. The relief you feel from avoiding trains your brain to repeat it. That's negative reinforcement. You escape discomfort, so the behavior strengthens. But once you see the loop, you can interrupt it, not by forcing action, but by understanding what's driving it. Because the real problem was never your ability to act, it was the meaning your brain attached to action. 7th, quiet, empowering close. Maybe you were never lazy. Maybe you were just protecting yourself in ways you didn't understand. And now you're starting to see it, not as weakness, but as something learned, something changeable. Next time you don't start, don't judge it immediately. Just pause and ask yourself quietly, what am I trying not to feel right now? Because behind that answer is the real reason you've been stuck. And maybe the way forward isn't forcing yourself to move, but finally understanding what made you stop.